Hello, my name's host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People, and tonight I'm speaking specifically to ENFJ and ESFJ women who have rationals as husbands. So we're talking about any of the NT types. That's ENTJ, INTP, ENTP, INTJ. Um, why am I talking specifically to this population of people? Because I suspect that you are potentially searching for a solution to some conflicts with your rationalist husband. Why do I think that? Well, I was married to an ESFJ for, well, we were together for 14 years before we split up, ultimately. And I think I have a lot of advice about how couples who are comprised of a extroverted feeling Dom person, that is to say an ESFJ or ENFJ, with a rational, one of the NTs, is going to play out. I have a feeling, I feel like I understand how those relationships work really well. I feel like I understand both types really well. And so I'd like to offer a few of my tips for dealing with your husband and helping to smooth over conflicts specifically. I'm going to put up some other videos about tips regarding this that are specific to other areas. These are specific to resolving conflict, okay? So the first tip is ask your husband to clarify what his position is. Let him have time to explain himself. Um, the reason this is important is because the worst thing that can happen in dealing with a rationalist husband is for him to feel as though he's not being heard from his perspective. So he needs to feel as though his arguments are being heard and that they're being responded to on point, which we're going to get to down the line here. But first of all, asking him to clarify his points will do a couple of things. One, it'll give the fight a little time to breathe. So he's going to be explaining himself more. You may not like what he's hearing. He's going to be explaining something about how your feelings aren't justified or something like that. Okay? So, it's important for you to be patient and let him talk his way through the whole thing. By the time he's done talking it out, chances are your rationalist husband will have made a number of arguments on your side of the flow, so to speak. On your side, he's going to say, well, this is kind of unfair of me. We tend to, in general, be pretty good at objective self-criticism, okay? So give him space and time to do that by asking him to clarify. The other thing is when you ask your husband to clarify what he says, to say things in different words, you're revealing to him or conveying to him that you want to understand his position. Okay? Number two, to the extent that it is possible, try not to respond to or focus on his tone. So, your rationalist husband may approach a given issue that you guys are having conflict with. He may approach it in a very cold and distant fashion. He may approach it in a very frustrated fashion or a stern fashion in the regard of, uh, you're not being logical, you're not being rational, that kind of thing. You know, the normal thing the rationalists do, especially when they're on the younger side. If you're, let's say between 25 and 35, you're having a different experience in a marriage than if you're 45. Also, it depends on the age of your kids. It's going to change your experience somewhat too. I think kids tend to humanize rationals a bit. Okay, so number two, again, respond to what is being said, not how it's being said. There's one thing that's going to frustrate a rationalist husband a great deal. It's it's a fixation on not expressing things the right way rather than on what is being said. And this is a core conflict between the two types. The FE Dom is mostly concerned with what emotions are being conveyed about them to them by their husband. And obviously, if we're frustrated and we're engaged in conflict, we're not going to be conveying particularly positive emotions. And yet, the wife in this pairing is likely to focus on how the husband behaved badly in approaching it, how the husband could have approached it better, how the husband could have said it in a different way, all of this sort of stuff. To focus on the process of the fight more than the concrete data in the fight. Now, if the ENFJ or ESFJ and the rationalist husband do not figure out a way around this communication barrier, the relationship's doomed. Because ultimately, you guys are arguing on different playing fields, and you'll never get anywhere. And you ESFJs and ENFJs are really good at shifting ground. So, husbands, if you're watching this and you're getting frustrated at your wife, it's because she's not letting you pin her down because she keeps shifting ground. It's because it's a feelings-driven argument. It's not a rationalist-driven argument. You need to understand that and respect that, okay? Now, number 3. This is my advice to you. I mean, here I am talking like I'm fucking Scoldy McScolderpants, right? Number 3. This is the most important one, really. Ask your husband to reframe the issue. So you say, okay, well, look, hypothetically, if you were coming at this from a feelings perspective, or if you were coming at this from a perspective who placed a great deal of value and emphasis on X, be specific like that is nice, on family, on holidays, on this particular event, and that you knew that the other person knew that you placed a great deal of emphasis on it. If you were that person and you were attempting to validate feeling bad about what happened to you, how would you argue that point? Ask your husband to do that. If they're an ENTP, they will gladly do that for you, make all sorts of points, and by the time they get to the end of it, they're going to be completely convinced of your position, probably. I mean, we're happy to make peace, I find in general, with anybody who's willing to play peace by parsing. That's going to be tip number 4, which is, or was it 5? I don't remember, but which is peace by parsing. Peace by parsing means break down, if you are really looking to affix blame and figure out who's responsible for what in something, parse it out. Take the whole thing and don't view it as one big incident that needs to be blame goes on X or Y. View it as a series of small steps, each of which can be parsed and attributed blame to. Look, you're right. I should never have said that to you. That was not cool. And especially given the context, it was even worse. However, I think we can both acknowledge that leading up to that moment, there were some other additional factors that came into play that might mitigate my responsibility a little bit. Can we talk about a couple of those things that you might have done there that were important as well? Here's one little thing you can agree to. Okay, here's another little thing I can agree to. Okay, before you know, you got peace, right? Peace by parsing is fine. But that leads me to the final suggestion, which is please, to the extent that you want to sustain a long-term relationship with a rational husband, try to want solutions. A lot of times, I think what happens is there's a spiral of behavior between the FE Dom and the NE Dom, or the TI Dom, potentially, or NI Dom, with T as the second function. That is kind of poisonous to the relationship, which is the FE Dom wants engagement with the husband, especially if the husband and the FE Dom don't have a lot of kids or something. Now, if it's just a couple, that FE Dom is going to expect a lot of engagement from that rational husband that the rational husband is not going to be prepared to give. The rationalist husband fundamentally wants the following thing. They want that relationship to be good and secure and solid, for you to be there for them, for them to come home and get nurturing from you and stuff like that. And then they don't want to really have to do anything about it. They don't want to have to maintain it, that's for sure. And then they think requests that it be maintained are signs that you feel like you need to be coddled or something. Well, look, we're a little bit slow to understand the validity of other perspectives because we win all the fights, So it makes us a little bit, makes us a little late in coming to terms with the fact that we are endowed with the most effective adversarial perspective, and therefore we think it's the most right, but that were we to enter a given moment with exactly the opposite perspective, we'd advocate just as hardly for that. just as strongly for that. And when we accept this reality that it's the controlling thing that's the problem, right? Now, look, you guys, Epi, you guys are fairly controlling, okay? And that's fine. I'm not telling you to be less controlling. I'm saying that for the NT, we need to be detached. More detached, not less. Because what we need to say is, what is she asking for that's fair? What can I do rationally that's going to help this woman feel as though her needs are being met? Additionally, you guys need to be realistic about, are your life circumstances such that to meet your needs, the rationalist husband is going to have to do more than he feels comfortable doing, and he's going to start to resent that, and then you're going to have a problem. If you expect him to have date night every other night, and bring home flowers and all that shit, then you're not going to be happy. This is not an individual who wants to have to maintain the relationship. They want to stay put. They want that project. Like if you're upset and there's a conflict, the rationalist husband wants to solve that conflict and have that resolution stick. They want that work to be done. They don't want it to be an ongoing process of continually working on the relationship, trying to improve your closeness and your whatever, right? They don't think a relationship ought to be work. However, they need to understand they need to make compromises. You guys are more than willing to make a lot of compromises. However, your definition of a compromise can be, I want it my way, however you want it my way is fine. That's basically kind of the ENSJ, uh, ENF, no, ESFJ way. That's the ESFJ way. I am so flexible and compromising. You can have it my way, any variety of these ways you want it. Okay, well, what if I don't want it your way? I'm being so reasonable. You have it my way in any of these 40 different flavors. I don't want it your way, though. I want it my way. And my solution allows us both to have it our own way, except your way requires me to do stuff, and my way doesn't require you to do stuff. So, I don't know why you would favor yours. If we get into a logical argument like that, your position doesn't hold water. So you need to stop trying to argue it as a logical position and simply appeal to their reality, their objective criticism, self-criticism, or criticism of the circumstance or context or whatever, and say, look, I'm coming at this from a different value sphere. I need a lot of engagement from others. It is the emotions of other people that drive my nature and my being. And as a rationalist, you are in the process of becoming some version of yourself. You have a choice. You're going to become a rationalist who dismisses and holds some contrary or oppositional position against parts of themselves that are not fully in accordance with those parts of themselves that are most natural and default. Or you're going to become a rationalist who embraces the opportunity to manifest more wholly an individual in coordination with the totality of human existence rather than just the one sliver he was born as. As an ENTP, I'm going to naturally be quite taken with this challenge if it's posed to me. I think most rationals, whatever they say about it, if you're serious and you're earnest and honest when you tell them this, they're going to as well conclude over time, if not right away, that there's something to be said for sure about acknowledging and working to feel the equal validity of, not just argue it, but to recognize the equal validity of other people, to recognize the equal validity of perspectives that contradict with our own, is to recognize the equal validity of other people, because those perspectives are those people. We are a set of 8 different perspectives, and we are one of those types of people. We come into the world, we come into the room with a perspective that says these values ought to be prioritized. Disruption, regulation, pushing, staying, finalizing, proceeding, rendering, and getting. So it's all we need to have all those priorities to function as a system that's self-sustaining, self-improving, and self-regulated, which is exactly what we have. If you want that system, you've got to have the mix of things. So your husband needs to understand that to the extent that he is functioning as a worker bee of disruption, for example, he's an ENFJ. Oh, you just want to be a disruptor? Are you just comfortable being just that worker bee that your genes and upbringing or whatever else tells you you have to be? He's not going to be once he understands what his perspective actually is rather than simply manifest it all the time. So I think the pathway to resolving conflicts between the FE wife and the NT husband, whatever NT variety you got, is NT understanding. Okay? You need to get him to understand that what feelings you have are valid because you're having them, not because they're justified by some logical argument. Having your feelings makes them valid, just as your husband's thoughts are valid inherently, and that your husband's invalidating feelings within you is not a line of argumentation that's going to work, and it's not fair, and it's not nice. Now here's the thing. They're going to say, yeah, but you're using those feelings to make demands upon me, to attack me, to indicate to me that the way I am is somehow not okay. That's what your husband's going to be probably telling you. And you need to respond and say, our job here is to find a way in which you are satisfied logically that our happy, healthy relationship is happy and healthy and good and worth being in and worth investing some energy into. If you conclude that logically and then choose to invest that energy into this relationship in a way that meets my needs, then your needs will continue to be met at a much higher rate than I get in return. And I'll be pretty satisfied with that. I don't need perfection from you, but if you're not investing anything into this relationship, then you can't expect to get the returns on the investment that you're currently getting. So you need to start thinking logically about this and conclude that, first of all, it's the right thing to do to be accommodating up to a point. Second of all, that it's the right thing to do to be self-preservational in orientation and recognize the value of your relationship is sufficient to justify investing the time and energy into preserving it. Now, lastly, ENF whatevers, or ESF whatevers, you're leading with FE. Try to be satisfied with a little bit less than you think you need. And try to get your husband to be okay with giving a little bit more than he thinks he ought to. And be okay first and foremost with the fact that you don't see eye to eye on that. Work on getting the behaviors to align. Work on getting a mutual understanding. You're going to have to convert the reasoning across currencies. You're not going to be able to tell him the reason is your feelings. However, you should tell him this. I feel lonely right now. What solutions do you have for me? Excellent approach to deal with your husband. And if he says, well, what reason do you have for feeling lonely? You have no reason to feel lonely right now. I'm really good. Say, look, regardless of whether or not your behavior ought to have changed my feelings, it has not. I feel lonely. Do you have any solutions you'd like to propose? And I, as the FE, am legitimately and willing and interested in trying those solutions. I'm not just engaging with this process so I can bond with you over the process, and I don't really care about the solutions. You have to actually care about the solutions, and they should stick for as long as possible, because your husband doesn't want to come and do this every fucking 5 minutes, you know?